Good morning, everyone. We're delighted to start day 2 of the festival with Shruthi Vishwanath. Shruthi, I invite you to join us. Hi, good morning.
Hi. Good morning.
So, Shruthi is a singer, composer, and educator from Pune, Maharashtra. And with her 25 by 25 grant, she created live and pre-recorded performances, conversations, and feminist readings with rural and urban women artists who inhabited the cyberspace at midnight for 25 nights in a row. These 25 sessions were streamed, premiered, and posted live on Facebook. All these 25 sessions plus a bonus session are available on YouTube in a playlist, which is shared with our posts today. So Shruthi, welcome. And I am very excited to know about your journey with this process. So I invite you to the stage and share.
Thank you, Darshana. It's such a joy to be with IFA and doing a project that IFA supports, because there's an inherent sense of wickedness in IFA projects, and it sort of drives you to think of work that way. And so when IFA put out this call, I found it interesting because I've never really considered myself a tech person, So ordinarily, in a world where somebody had put out a call saying, I want a project on the internet, I would have immediately said, oh, it's not for me. And so actually, this project started there. I said, oh, and then I looked closely at the call and I said, all right, so why isn't technology mine? And if as an urban, actually pretty tech savvy arts practitioner, if I consider that the internet isn't mine, then my question became, so who is the internet for? And in this world, in a world where we have clearly been driven by the internet more than anything else in the last year, it became, okay, so who has access? Who doesn't have access? What is this new hierarchy that we've created? And me as an engineer turned artist who has all of the gadgets that I could wish for, if the internet is not mine, if I haven't staked my ownership of it yet, then who has and who can? And that became the central question behind our Midnight song. And the project was initially called, as you know, Women Occupying Cyberspace at Midnight. And just to sort of put it out there, this is not women with an E or an A, this is women with an X. This is an intersectional, inclusive term that encompasses everyone who's perhaps not, who doesn't identify as cis male, perhaps. It gets a lot of people under this umbrella. And so it became, okay, so women are not able to occupy physical space more easily at midnight. And there are so many, there's this Marathi song that even highlights that, Mala जाऊ द्या ना घरी आता वाजले की 12. It's midnight now, let me go home. And I said, okay, if we're not able to occupy physical space yet on the streets at midnight, can we occupy cyberspace? What does the occupying of cyberspace entail? What does it take? And I've been, ever since sort of this pandemic began and this new normal began, I've been doing live sessions on Zoom every day. There's an engagement with community. My engagement with rural India deepened. So it also became, okay, I don't just want it to be urban English speaking practitioners who one knows, typically can come on the internet and be visible at this time. But can we get multiple languages in this world? Can we get people from rural India practitioners who are non-cis? Can we get trans practitioners? A big question for me was, can I get a trans person to come and share their work, perhaps? And so it became this collective surge of finding what our song is. And the song is not the song is a metaphor. It's not really a song. There were multiple songs, multiple poems, multiple conversations that happened over the 25 nights. It became, what is this that we're looking for? What does taking space mean? And during the course of this project, we've while sitting in my bedroom, I've traversed from Murshidabad in Bengal to the Bellary district in Karnataka, to interviewing my grandmother who lives at home with us, to readings of Native American poetry and activists far across. It really became a celebration of languages, a celebrations of that traverse time and space. And it's been very, very special, and it was exhausting, but I'm so glad it happened, because the conversations that the 25 nights led to, that continue till this day, really has given me a sense that there is something bigger out there first to be explored, and that this fight, or this battle, that we're waging for visibility and to get people visible on cyberspace, to amplify the voices of those who might not be heard. It's a larger fight. It's an intersectional fight. It's a fight that traverses across, and it's really given me hope and light to be able to do this, and to know that there's more in the horizon.
That's really beautiful. Actually, as I was catching the 25 sessions live as much as I could, and you mentioned this already, a few things stood out to me that, you would think that real world is unequal, but internet should be equal, and that it's not. There's a question of access. It's all a question of privilege too. So would you expand on that, and what your experiences were with these constructs actually?
So, even when I was writing the grant, I said, okay, let me put in some stats, because we kind of know this qualitatively. We kind of know that women will have less access, so that rural India will have less access. And it's typically the proportions, like women in urban India will have about 25 to 50% less access. Women in rural India, people in rural India will have to typically, shave off another 25%, and you have the stats for rural India. So these numbers are mind-boggling. Like, we think that a device is equal, but it's not. Even I've realized so much about how the quality of the device, whether you have a high-end phone or a low-end phone. Like, for instance, I've been trying to get kids from who wouldn't ordinarily have access into my classes, for instance, and I'm facing a huge battle, because again, technology, internet, you would think it's a leveler, but it's not, because I'm sitting at home with 100 Mbps connection. Somebody over there who, when I was in a village during the lockdown, I know that I couldn't schedule anything after 5 p.m. because internet would go down. I don't know why. So from 5 to 10 p.m., I know I could access nothing, perhaps a message. And that itself sort of was a great humbler. And during the course of this project also, that's something that really hit me. And it's something I would like to do something about. I don't know how, because we're all very small players in this big equation. But for instance, like the session with Mallika Begum, Mallika Di was tuning in from Murshidabad. And initially she said, I'll come live. I have a smartphone and everything. I said, okay, come, let's do a test session. We realized she has absolutely no internet. So literally at 8 in the evening, I'm taking a test call, and she's running not from one room to the other. She's running from one ashram in Murshidabad to the other, like going 500 meters. Na didi, ikhane noy, I'll go that side. Then she goes, and she's like, na, ikhane tower noy. Then literally she must have traveled about 2 kilometers in the 20 or so minutes that we were on the call trying to figure out. And that number is just mind-boggling. Can you imagine in an entire sort of 2 kilometer diameter of space, there's no place where she can sit and be seen. And this is a person who said, no, I have internet, I have a smartphone. She has a Facebook account, everything, but how can she sing? And so finally she ended up sending a voice recording of her performance. And very beautifully at midnight, somehow she caught some semblance of a signal. And so there was a grainy video of her coming and witnessing her own recording, which for me was very beautiful. It sort of, yeah, I just had goosebumps, and I said, okay, wow. And even like the language, I needed a translator every time. I needed an interpreter, because of course my Bangla is not good enough. Even my Kannada, I was struggling. Like, how do you explain what to turn on in Zoom? Like this whole connect to audio business. Like these are all, like, for us, it's okay. It's one step more, and now it's become natural. But for somebody in rural India, it's a huge leap. For Ramaka Jogati, who was tuning in from Ballari district, Shilpa Mudbi came as a lifeline. She sat with me for 2 hours. We found a person in the shop next to Ramaka's house. Who she runs a small shop, and so we were on her phone with her, telling her, okay, can you connect with Ramaka? Okay, press this. My Kannada didn't work. Shilpa's Ballari Kannada didn't work. Finally, something, we've put screenshots. So every call, even though it's 20 minutes, it took 2 hours to just connect. Okay, this is Zoom. This is how you connect. The conversation comes later. This is just the very sort of basic technical setup, and it's unequal. It's so unequal, and it's heartbreaking that it is so unequal. But that's what it is, and I'm glad though that we could traverse some of this with a combination of recordings and audio recordings and doing a bit of jugaad here and there.
No, and you talking about this and sharing it with us is extremely important, because as an audience, there were so many sessions where I was constantly checking my privilege, because we don't think twice about being online at any time, really. And so what was unusual and new for you to be online at midnight? And what was the audience like at that time, and the audience response, and any conversations?
I have to give a shout out to my mom, because the two of us are roommates, and she's had 25 sleepless nights, and sort of just waiting. And one day the power went, the fuse in our house went just 5 minutes before the session. So everyone was awake, kind of trying to get the power back. But it's been so heartening. One is, of course, I'm humbled by the depth of practice in this country, by just the range of women practitioners. And this is not even these 13, 14 guests who came. It's just a mere fraction of the rich diversity of practice that exists in this country. And to celebrate it at midnight was very interesting, because initially people sort of tuned in, all right, today we don't know what's happening. And of course, the live notification used to come. And slowly it built up. Slowly it was like, oh, at midnight we're going to stay. And there were people who told me the next morning, we couldn't catch it at midnight because we were sleeping, but that's the first thing we see in the morning. And so there was this rich group of people of God knows who in India was awake at that hour, and there were people tuning in from Europe and from the US. And most importantly, when somebody came for one session, if somebody was I don't know, Yashoda Thakur, the dancer's friend, and they came for one session, they would inevitably end up coming back. And it was like, oh, okay, so this is part of a larger piece. And I loved that. The fact that somebody came for dance but stayed on for poetry. Somebody came for for Bengali folk and stayed on till a Kannada session had happened. Like, that was really, really rich and really heartening. And that is one of the great powers of the internet, to have conversations across where we can erase some of our constructs. And that was really lovely. Like, it didn't matter. Like, a lot of the sessions I said, okay, it's in Marathi. I don't have subtitles. Or for this one, it's live in Bangla. We're not going to have subtitles. but it was the energy that carried across. And why should everything be subtitled into English or Hindi or the dominant languages? It can be what it is, and I would love for it to grow even more and become even more diverse, because this is just a jhalak. It's a glimpse of what is possible.
That's lovely. So obviously, I mean, you spoke of many challenges putting this together too. But for you, what stands out as the biggest challenge through this whole process?
So I think it's always going to be a struggle to get voices heard. And even now, I'm aware that because of my amplifying, there's a certain, or because of this amplification, then there are certain more voices that still are out there that haven't been that haven't had the chance to come. And I think so that the constant thing of, like you said, constantly checking your privilege, constantly checking what is being amplified and therefore what isn't being amplified, and how do we constantly sort of revisit those questions and ask ourselves the tough questions. I mean, this project I think it's wonderful, but I know it's not perfect, and I know that there's something more, and I hope that I have the strength and the courage to dive into those areas that I haven't dived into yet, and that is really my hope for myself.
So that connects right to what I think we could conclude with. Is you mentioned before too, when you were speaking about the whole process, that this you feel is a part of a larger a picture, a larger project, a larger journey. So how do you see this going forward, like beyond the grant? I mean, ideally, and what probably can happen,
Yeah, so it's a question that I've been asking myself since the beginning of this year. I mean, the larger lockdown year. And really, my question is, how do you get, like, even a little bit of tech access to artist communities in more rural areas, and how therefore does their access increase? And I think it can only happen if we work collectively. Like, really, not one person cannot do it all. For every episode that I've done with a rural artist, be it Mollika Di, Reena Di, Ramaka Jogati, Shanti Ji Tipania, Shivani Gangolia. Like, there was literally a village that came together to make it happen. No kidding. There were people who ran, running technology, people who, but it was all local. It was really, that was the biggest learning. It was all because nobody could travel or anything. It was just me sort of being the communicating agency, and people going and setting things up there. And that, I think, is also the biggest hope. Ki once you really mobilize local communities, once they know that the possibility exists, then you can really do something. Like, I've been doing it in my other sessions during the lockdown as well. Like, one smartphone in one community, and we've had some 7 programs of troops who would never have possibly been heard otherwise. And it wasn't much. Like, it really took nothing to get us to get one smartphone, and then sort of do a little bit of tech training, and then knowing that the seeds of that will go elsewhere. And similarly, like, and I'd just like to end on this, that every artist who's come to this project, the urban artists, none of them took an honorarium. They said, no, the pool is very small. Let's leave it for the rural artists, so that the rural artists at least could get something. And so there was a sense of collective. Okay, I came today, but I will also listen to what happened after, and what happened before, and what will come after. And this sense of the collective, I think that is a hope, and that's what I feel like I'm just a seed over here, and there's just like a little bit of an idea. And if that can happen, oof, I cannot even imagine. This is what happened in 25 days. What could happen if we really start, I hate the word leveraging, but if really creating sparks, I think creating sparks in local communities, that is the takeaway. Very non-tech thing, but
no, but that's a very positive and optimistic note to really end with, looking forward, I like that. Thank you so much, Shruti. And a lot of us were able to tune in and check out the sessions in real time, but it was also a joy to check out the playlist, which I hope the audience will go and check out. So once again, thank you very much, Shruthi Vishwanath from Pune.
Shruthi Veena Vishwanath these days.
Sorry, Shruthi Veena Vishwanath from Pune. All right, Shruti, thank you so much.
Thank you,
everyone. Bye-bye.